A big challenge is that a lot of people are afraid to, as I say, step out of the closet and ask for help. Extend your hand and say, I think I need help. And then somebody needs to be able to step to the plate to be able to say, let me walk beside you.
Hi and welcome to Lead Well. Today, I'm joined by Doug Lawrence. Doug, you are a founder of Talency and you are one of the most experienced mentoring practitioners that I've ever come across. You're not only mentoring yourself, you're also teaching and educating mentors. But that's not the most impressive thing about you. The most impressive thing is probably your 5 global awards for your most current book, Grief. And I'm really curious to learn more about that and your thoughts about it, because as I mentioned in our pre-recording conversation, I have lost quite a few family members as well. And not all of them were 2-legged. There were also 4-legged family members that I lost. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts about that. So let's start with this question about mentoring, though. So when I hear mentoring today, what do you think that is most misunderstood by what a mentor is and what mentoring is?
I think that part of it is there's confusion and still confusion around coaching versus mentoring. So the definition of mentoring is a two-way trusted relationship where both the mentor and the mentee are going to learn and grow together. So that's the definition. And what I've found is that sometimes coaching is not the answer and it's actually mentoring, because for me, the approach I take is I try to get inside the person's thought process to be able to get them turned around and change their behavior patterns so that we can get to the root cause of what's the issue at hand. And so that's call it the difference or what mentoring is.
Okay. And so do you think that a lot of coaches are actually doing mentoring, or that a lot of mentors are actually coaches? Because you said there is this confusion between the two.
And that's a good point, is that there are coaches that are mentoring, but may not be, don't want to call it anything other than coaching. And there's mentors that are doing a little bit of coaching. And then we throw into the pot the aspect of mentoring as being part of the support structure for mental health.
Okay. Okay. So that's closer. That brings it closer to therapy then, does it?
You have to, as a mentor who is working in that space, you have to be very mindful of where the line in the sand is and where you need to refer who you're working with. You may suggest to them that they might be better served if they were to go to see a counselor. The big problem we run into is counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists. They're all working so hard they don't have the capacity to take anyone on or to provide that interim support. And that's where the mentor who, is working with a person from a mental health perspective, that's where that comes into play.
Okay. And now I also know that you're the only Journey mentor certified globally. So what does that mean, and what does that add to the traditional mentoring?
There's not a lot of certified mentors out there. There's lots of certified coaches. I partnered with a gentleman in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, to create a certification for mentors. And one of the elements is the Journey Mentor. And in order to get through that process, there's case studies that have to be done. You have to log so many hours, and you have to recertify every 2 years, and all the things that you would expect from a certified person.
Now let's come back to what I started with, this book about grief, because how does that relate? So what really led you to write about grief when first you published two books about mentoring?
The second book, You Are Not Alone, was taking a look at mentoring in its initial stages, but it was more so about how can mentoring help people who are struggling with post-traumatic stress.
Mhm.
And then book number three, Grief, the Silent Pandemic, took us deeper into what could mentoring actually do to help somebody who is going through or who is on their journey of grief, and what are some of the things that can be put into practice to be able to provide that assistance to that person.
Now, what is it? How would you recommend we approach someone who has just lost a significant one person in
You,
his life?
the most important thing and the most important thing you can do is to be there and in a purely non-judgmental capacity, and looking at it from making sure that you're being confidential in the conversations and stuff. But the most important thing is that you need to be able to listen and hear what the person is saying. And then from that aspect, you can decide, how may I be of service to this person? What are some of the things that I can do? I belong to a number of bereavement support groups. And that's the big thing that everybody in those groups is looking for, is they're looking for the aspect of, I just want somebody to talk to. And I don't expect you to solve my issues or anything like that, but I'm looking for that support that is missing in my journey to recover.
Is there a difference in bereavement and grief for people who are on their own versus those who live with a family? What is,
You
do you
know,
find a,
that's a good question, and I personally I don't think there is that much of a difference. Having said that, there could be counselors out there that would say that I'm maybe I'm missing the boat, but for me, the difference between the two is there is probably a difference, but it's not that significant that we can't do what we're doing in order to help people.
and I think the important part that I learned about people who are grieving is that I need to not only offer my help, but I need to make really concise suggestions of what I'm going to do and ask them again and again because it's so hard for them to reach out at that point in time.
Yeah, that's the toughest part, and I know I went through that myself with the loss of my wife, Deborah, that I really struggled to find the courage to reach out to get professional help, because I that's what I really truly needed, was the professional help. I needed the counselor, the social worker, somebody who is professionally trained, because I couldn't drive past the hospital where Deborah passed away. She was in the palliative unit. I couldn't drive past there
Mm.
without breaking down and crying on the side of the road, because I didn't know how to handle the grief, what I was feeling. It was an abnormal sense of loss, and just there was so many different things that were going through my mind. And I went and I got professional help, and it made a world of difference.
And what was it, if I may ask? Was it something someone said to you or something you did or you changed your thinking, or what was it that was helpful to you in that moment?
It took a period of time in order
Mhm.
for us to get to where we needed to get to, but it was the, there's different modalities that a counselor, social worker, and that used, and we for me, that's what she actually had put into practice was the rapid eye movement exercise, right? EMDR. I also did, what was it, IADC induced after death, something, I can't remember the total part, but just different ways of dealing and processing and getting my head into a space where I'm actually processing what's taking place, and that was important to me to be able to do that.
Wow. And how could a mentor help in that situation as well? Because I think that's another angle that you're coming from.
It is, and the big thing, how the mentor comes into play is that they're there to provide additional support. But what's important is that they're also the bridge between when I go so today I go and I see my psychologist. And because of their schedule and that, I can't get back in to see them for 6 months. What am I supposed to do? And that's where the mentor is the one that can say, let's sit down and have a conversation. Let's go for a walk. Is there anything you would like me to help you with? Is there all those elements? And the big thing I think that a lot of people forget is that if you make a commitment to someone who is grieving, and for that matter, just about anyone, if you make a commitment to them, you should follow through. No, that's not totally true. You must follow through is probably closer to the truth.
Yeah, because otherwise, I just recently had a conversation with a guest, Mr. J, and he said, because otherwise it would feel like betrayal if someone promised you to be there for you and then not show up.
Yeah, because I had that where we did a celebration of life when Deborah passed away, and there was people that came that I hadn't seen in, gosh, years, and they came and they said we should go for a coffee, and coffee never happened, or we should go for a lunch, and lunch never happened, and we go. It was important enough to say it. Now you need to live that and you need to follow through on it, but it never happened.
And they would have needed to take the initiative, not you reach out to them.
Exactly. Because I think we've all had those situations where we've had people that have said, I'll meet you for coffee, and it never happens. And they don't understand what the impact of not doing something, what that does.
Now, your title, the book title is Grief, the Silent Pandemic. So how ubiquitous do you think grief really is? How many people are grieving at a certain moment in time?
If you looked at it globally, the numbers are staggering. There are thousands of individuals, and every day my path crosses somebody who is going through the grieving process every single day. So you just take that, because I've had it where I've gone to the bank to do some banking, and the person standing beside me says, oh, John passed away just the other day. And you're going, now what do I do? Because here's somebody who is obviously starting their journey and starting that struggling process. But where I came from, the title of the book, Grief, the Silent Pandemic, was all the stuff we went through and experienced with COVID. It's much the same when you take a look at it. It's much the same as to the things we are experiencing today with grief, because it's at a magnitude of being equal to COVID. The two, when you take a look, they're very similar number-wise, impact-wise, but we did all the fanfare and everything else for COVID, but we're not doing that for grief. And I guess my point behind the book was, and why not?
Now, speaking about the other side, when you work as a mentor for someone who is grieving, I know from my personal experience that it can be really also emotional. So there is this capacity that we have to hold the space for others, especially at this depth. So what do you do and what do you advise mentors do to protect their own well-being?
They have to make sure that they go through a clearing so that they clear that negative energy and move it along so that they do, number one, have space and they save space for themselves. Just as importantly, they can save space for the people that they're trying to work with to help and all those sorts of things. But it's really important to make sure, and that's where the mentor, like I look at myself, that's where I wear more than one hat because I know that if I'm going to have a conversation with Christine because she's lost a loved one, I know that I need to create special space for her, but I also have to create space for myself to make sure that I've got the capacity to be able to help. Otherwise, kind of, I'm letting you down if I don't create or have that space in place. And the big thing is, as a mentor, you want to be able to create a safe place for those conversations to take place.
For yourself and the person
Exactly.
you're
Yeah.
mentoring. Now, what would you say are the inner capacities that I would need as a mentor before I even can learn the techniques? Or can anyone become a mentor, or are there specific capabilities, skills that I would need to have?
The most important thing is the ability to listen and hear and be non judgmental. And I know that anyone who has that capacity and is willing to be of service to others, you can be a mentor that works in the grief space without any further dialogue. It's because I look at the skill sets required for a mentor, for say a journey mentor, are much the same as what you're looking for in your leaders in organizations. So the when you take a look and break it down, leadership and mentoring almost go hand in hand, lockstep and lockstep, however you want to look at it. But a lot of the key characteristics of a great mentor are also the characteristics of a great leader and a great mentor.
So you're saying listening and hearing what the other person says.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you feel is important for both?
Compassion, and we get that from our leaders as well, compassion. But the big thing is listening and hearing are probably the most important pieces. And the capacity, but also the willingness to want to help this person get through because the grief journey is a long one and they're definitely going to have to be prepared for that to be able to help facilitate the person's journey no matter what the situation is.
So what I'm also hearing is that caring for the other person is probably something that is required.
Yes, it is. Yeah, most definitely. It's not for everyone. It's definitely not for everyone to, you in your heart, mind, and soul, you want to help, but yet you don't have the capacity or you haven't reached a stage yet where you feel comfortable having those type of conversations. Like for me, I find it challenging, but I also find it to be very rewarding when you're able to help somebody take that first couple steps on a healing journey and who will turn around and say, I need help. And that's big or a big challenge is that a lot of people are afraid to, as I say, step out of the closet and ask for help. Extend your hand and say, I think I need help. And then somebody needs to be able to step to the plate to be able to say, "I'll let me walk beside you."
Yeah, because asking for help feels really hard. And I've experienced it not with grief, but with my burnout. And when I turned around and asked for help, it was the most difficult thing for me to do. Turned out it was the bravest I could do, but it felt really vulnerable at that time.
And there's stigmatism that's attached with that in a lot of cases where,
Mm.
especially from the aspect of dealing with mental health and grief, and that is that your peers and people that are supposed to be there to help you, support you, and all that sort of thing, all they care is suck it up, buttercup,
Mm.
and get
Yeah.
going.
And sometimes, I don't know about what you think about it, sometimes I feel it's because they're afraid more than anything else.
Yeah, so true. So true. And that's a good point that you've raised because it takes us back to I I don't know what to say or how to say it, so I'm not going to say anything. And it's the challenge that people experience with being comfortable enough to be able to say, I'm not quite sure what to say in this particular, can you give me
Mm.
some guidance to
Mm.
help me move along? Because I
Mm.
went through some of that where I had people come to me and say, why is it so difficult? And I said, you have to think of the outcome of some of your conversations. It may not be as rosy as what you tend to think it is. So it's a matter of taking the time and asking the questions and caring and being that nurturing mindset. So there's all those pieces to that puzzle
Mm.
that we need to be mindful and cognizant of.
And sometimes I also feel that people who want to help, that they have a really high threshold because they think they need to know what to say and what to do instead of just as you just said, be there and listen,
Yeah.
and you will hear what the other person needs. You don't have to know upfront.
No, and I hate to make it sound so simplistic. Just being able to listen and hear and being able to reach out and say, I'm here, I'll let me walk beside you. And just to be able to do that is going to potentially it's a life altering process that you're going on with somebody who needs you to walk beside them.
Wow, that's very profound. Now, to round up our conversation, I have a question for you. What is your vision for this world and for the work you're doing?
I Number one is that my goal for the world is to be able to make it a better place to be, and to, if I can change just one person's life by what it is that I do, then to me that's a good thing. That's a positive thing. And I think that we need to do more of that, that the world is in a position or a place today that we need to do more than what we are.
And to listen more and to
Exactly.
hear the other. Wow, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
everything you're doing and bringing relief to those in grief. And I'm very happy to hear that you got the support you needed when you lost your wife. And for me, there is this, having lost also 5 family members, there is always this missing them. But at least now I can remember the good times that we had together and the laughters that we had together and all those wonderful moments. So I hope this is the same for you as well.
Thank you.
This was Lead Well. Now, what is the one thing that you're taking away from this episode? Please share in the comments below and do share the podcast with your friends and family, but only if you like it.